The Long Accord began many centuries after humans first stepped into the stars. A vast alliance called the Galactic Concord welcomed Earth into its fold with open arms and strict rules. Thousands of species lived under one banner, promising eternal peace, no wars, no conquests, no weapons beyond small defense forces. The elder races had fought their last great battles long ago, and now they guarded the galaxy like careful parents watching rowdy children. When human ships arrived at the Great Council Station, the aliens smiled at the eager new members. Humans listened quietly to every speech about harmony and shared prosperity. They signed the treaties quickly, without argument. The Concord leaders praised them often, saying, "Look how fast these young ones learned the value of peace." Behind closed doors, the elders whispered other words. They called humans the reformed barbarians, the neutered apex predator, the species that finally put away its claws. Human ambassadors always smiled politely and bowed at the right moments. They never raised their voices, never demanded changes, never walked out of meetings. Year after year, the Concord added new rules for everyone, but especially for humans. Population growth must slow, said one decree, so resources stay balanced. Certain colony worlds belong to older species now, said another, because history gives stronger claims. Military research must stop completely, said the strictest order. Even thinking about new weapons breaks the spirit of peace. Humans agreed to it all on record. They sent messages home that everything proceeded smoothly. On Earth and the human worlds, life changed in quiet ways nobody outside noticed. The old fleets went into museum orbits, bright lights shining on their hulls for tourists to admire. People visited them, took pictures, told stories about the brave days long past. But deep inside those ships, small teams worked in secret. Engineers replaced old parts with better ones, labeled as civilian upgrades. Scientists ran endless tests called peaceful research, but the results stayed hidden in encrypted files. Every citizen finished mandatory service not as soldiers, but as members of the Disaster Response Corps. They learned to operate heavy machines, fly complex craft, repair damage under pressure. Training never stopped. It simply wore a new name. Children grew up hearing the same lesson: stay calm, cooperate, build trust with our galactic neighbors. Yet in private homes and locked simulation rooms, other lessons passed down. Stories of old wars, careful plans, patient waiting, the strength found in silence. The galaxy saw humans everywhere, trading goods, sharing art, sending scientists to joint projects. Human music played in alien halls, human paintings hung in Concord museums. Human food became popular on many worlds. Diplomats from other worlds saw the same human faces everywhere. Species visited Earth often, and left impressed by the calm, orderly cities, the polite people, the lack of visible weapons. One elder ambassador wrote in his private log, "Humans have truly embraced peace. They no longer carry the fire that once burned in their eyes." Another species leader laughed at a banquet and said the apex predator has become a house cat. How delightful. Humans heard these words through hidden channels and kept smiling. Time moved forward. Decades turned to centuries. The Concord grew stronger, its rules tighter, its fleets larger. Human population stayed within limits set by treaty. Human ships rarely left approved trade routes. Human voices in council stayed soft and agreeable. Then came smaller incidents. Nobody called them warnings at the time. A human mining station on a distant moon found rich deposits of rare elements. Before humans could claim full rights, a Khazari delegation arrived, with Concord approval. They explained, the moon fell into a shared zone, now humans must share the profits, 60-40 in favor of the Khazari. Humans nodded, sent the required reports, and quietly moved most workers to other projects. No protests, no blockade, no complaints filed. The Khazari took the moon and built grand facilities. Galactic News praised the smooth cooperation. Another time, a human research vessel discovered an uninhabited system with perfect conditions for a new colony. Before the first habitat could land, a Vorath fleet appeared. They declared the system part of their expansion corridor under Concord law. Humans withdrew their ship, left the survey data behind, and returned home. The Vorath settled the worlds quickly. Again, the news spoke of peaceful transfer and wise restraint. Through all these moments, humans kept the same calm face. No riots, no angry speeches, no fleets launched in secret. Inside human space factories hummed day and night. New designs appeared on drawing boards, then vanished into secure storage. Young people trained harder than ever in sports that looked innocent, but built deadly precision. Shipyards produced vessels listed as cargo haulers, exploration craft, luxury liners. Each one carried hidden compartments, stronger engines, better sensors, systems that could wake up when needed. The Concord inspectors visited often and found nothing wrong. Paperwork stayed perfect, every form filled, every limit followed. The elders grew more confident. They spoke openly now about guiding humanity into full maturity. Some suggested permanent observer status for humans, no vote, no veto, just a seat to watch and learn. Others proposed population caps, even lower, to prevent future strain. A few joked that humans had become the perfect junior partner, always helpful, never troublesome. On Earth, the Central Council met in windowless rooms, reviewed reports from every front. They counted ships, counted people, counted hidden resources. They looked at the calendar and saw the centuries of patience almost complete. One council member stood and spoke softly. Our neighbors believe we forgot how to fight. They think time has tamed us. They are wrong. Another member answered, we gave them every chance to prove peace could last. They chose greed instead. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Then the leader nodded once. Prepare the signal. Keep everything as it was on the surface. Let them tighten the leash one more time. When they pull too hard, the leash will break. Outside, the galaxy continued its comfortable rhythm. Aliens traded, laughed, planned holidays, attended grand festivals. They looked at humans and saw a species that had learned its place. They never noticed the small changes, the quiet preparations, the patient eyes watching from every shadow. The long accord held firm on the outside. Inside it grew thinner every day. Humans waited. They had waited for centuries. They could wait a little longer. A moment would come soon enough. When it did, the galaxy would finally understand why humans signed every treaty so willingly. They had not surrendered. They had simply paused. The first fracture started quietly, like a small crack in thick ice. A group of mid-level species grew tired of watching humans rise too high in trade and wealth. The Khazari Dominion led the way. Tall, armored warriors, always hungry for more territory. The Vorath Enclave joined them, an insect-like mind, always calculating every advantage. Several smaller races followed, hoping for scraps from the table. They met in secret rooms on neutral stations, far from the main council. They spoke of imbalance. Humans owned too many profitable routes, controlled too many key resources, despite having no real fleet. They decided the time had come for a security adjustment. The proposal went to the full Concord Assembly. It asked that humanity give up 3 core colony systems, rich in minerals and perfect for farming. These worlds would go to species described as underserved. In return, humans would accept permanent observer status. No vote, no seat. At the decision table, just the right to watch and listen. The debate lasted 3 days. Most elder races spoke in favor, saying it promoted fairness and reduced future tension. A few neutral voices asked if humans had been consulted. The Khazari representative answered, humans had enjoyed enough grace. It was time for them to step back. The vote came quickly, 87% in favor, 13% against or abstaining. Human delegates sat in their usual places, faces calm, hands folded. They did not speak against the motion. They did not call for delays. They simply recorded a calm abstention. Then they stood, bowed once, and left the chamber without another word. The assembly room buzzed with satisfaction. Many aliens congratulated each other on a wise and peaceful solution. News channels across the galaxy ran bright headlines about territorial harmony achieved through diplomacy. Within hours, Khazari battle groups jumped into the disputed systems. Vorath's support ships followed, carrying occupation forces. Human civilian populations received orders to prepare for relocation for their own safety. The process moved with cold efficiency. Transports arrived. Families packed belongings. Children stared wide-eyed at the tall Khazari soldiers standing guard. No resistance came. No hidden weapons appeared. No crowds gathered to shout. Humans boarded the ships, quietly filed into seats, and let themselves be carried away. Billions left their homes, farms, factories, schools behind. The empty cities stood silent under new flags. Khazari engineers landed, began surveys and construction. Vorath overseers marked zones for their hives. Galactic reporters filmed the smooth handover, praising the lack of violence. One famous anchor smiled at the camera and said, "This shows the true strength of the Concord. Even the once fierce humans now choose cooperation over conflict." The Khazari admiral watched from his flagship bridge. He felt pride swelling in his chest. He opened a direct channel to Earth. His image appeared on screens across human space, translated into every dialect. He spoke slowly, letting each word carry weight. "You named this arrangement peace. We accept your surrender. Enjoy your new quiet lives." The message ended. No reply came from Earth. No angry statements filled the networks. No fleets stirred in hidden docks. Only silence spread across human worlds. Deep inside secure bunkers, far below the surface, council members gathered again. Screens showed live feeds of the occupied colonies, displaced families arriving at temporary camps, empty orbitals now flying alien banners. One counselor traced a finger along a holographic map. "They took the bait," he said softly. Another answered exactly as expected. The leader of the council leaned forward, eyes steady. "Has every asset reported ready?" Affirmatives came from every sector. Hidden shipyards, full production lines, complete supply chains, secure simulation data verified. The leader paused, then spoke the words they had waited centuries to say. Phase threshold reached, authorization granted. A single encrypted pulse shot out from Earth. It traveled through relay stations, bounced off civilian satellites, slipped past Concord monitors. It reached every human vessel, installation, outpost, and dormant fleet. The message contained only 4 words: wake up, prepare, engage when ready. Across the galaxy, small changes began unnoticed. A cargo hauler drifting near a trade lane suddenly altered course by a fraction. No one logged the shift. A research station on a gas giant moon powered up extra arrays nobody had seen before. A generation ship listed as a museum piece quietly tested its drives in deep space. Worlds, human workers left behind, as skeleton crews smiled politely at their new overseers. They repaired machines, cleaned facilities, kept records perfect. The Khazari commanders noted their good behavior and relaxed guard rotations. Vorath hive masters praised the docile primates. None of them saw the tiny drones slipping through vents. None noticed the faint signals buried in routine maintenance chatter. None realized the displaced billions now lived in neat camps on neutral worlds, where human aid ships arrived first, with food, medicine, and quiet instructions. The galaxy celebrated the peaceful resolution. Festivals marked the occasion on many capitals. Aliens toasted to the end of old tensions. They raised glasses and said humanity had finally proven itself worthy of the Concord. They laughed about the barbarians who became bureaucrats. On Earth, the Central Council room stayed lit through the night. Maps updated in real time, green lights turning amber one by one. Each amber light meant one more asset awake, one more piece in position. The leader watched the display grow. He spoke to no one in particular. They think we surrendered. They think silence means defeat. He turned to the others. Let them keep thinking that a little longer. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. Trade ships moved on schedule. Diplomatic receptions continued with music and fine food. The Khazari admiral returned to his homeworld a hero. He walked through cheering crowds, accepted medals, planned new expansions. The Vorath queens laid fresh eggs, dreaming of bigger hives. The elder races filed reports, saying the adjustment succeeded beyond expectations. Humanity stayed quiet. No broadcasts, no demands, no threats. Just the patient, steady work of people who had learned to wait. The fracture had begun. The ice still looked solid from above. But underlying, pressure built. Cracks spread slowly, invisible to most. Soon the surface would give way. When it did, the galaxy would remember why humans never argued in council. They had no need to argue. They had other ways to answer. The relocation finished. The new flags flew high. The Khazari sent one last mocking transmission to human channels. It repeated the same line. You named it peace. We accept your surrender. Still no reply came. Only the encrypted pulse kept traveling, carrying the same 4 words to every corner of human space. Wake up, prepare, engage when ready. The long accord had held for centuries. Now it trembled on the edge. One more push would break it clean. Humanity waited for that push. They did not have to wait long. The unraveling began the morning after the last displaced family settled in temporary camps. Galactic sensors first noticed small odd things. Khazari supply convoys, scheduled to arrive at forward bases, simply vanished. No distress calls, no wreckage, no jump signatures left behind. Entire fleets of freighters carrying food, fuel, ammunition disappeared between normal transit points. Vorath listening posts picked up ghost signals that sounded like Concord command codes. The signals repeated old orders, then faded. When technicians went to check the posts, they found empty rooms, consoles dark, blood on the floors, but no bodies. The stations had gone dark, one by one. A dozen border worlds suddenly broadcast declarations of administrative independence. Governors appeared on screens thanking the Concord for past protection, but stating new arrangements had been made. When Concord patrol ships arrived to restore order, they found quiet. Orbitals spinning empty. Habitats stood dark. Landing fields clear of ships. Populations gone. Human civilian transports had come first. Fast, quiet, efficient. They loaded everyone, took records, supplies, even pets, then left before any Concord vessel could respond. The elder races watched these events with growing confusion. Reports piled up on council tables. Analysts argued over causes. Some blamed pirate activity, others spoke of technical failures, still others whispered sabotage. The human ambassador received a formal summons to the Grand Chamber. He arrived alone, dressed in simple robes, face as calm as ever. The presiding elder spoke directly. Why are these things happening? Explain your species' actions. The ambassador looked at each face in turn, then answered softly. We have honored every treaty you wrote. You have not. He said nothing more. He bowed, turned and left. The chamber erupted in shouts, demands, accusations. Security teams searched for hidden devices, listening bugs, anything. They found nothing. Panic spread slowly at first, then faster. Analysts dug into old records, treaty archives, inspection logs. Patterns emerged that no one had seen before. For centuries, humanity never truly disarmed. They changed the definition instead. Every research station listed as civilian hid scalable weapon systems. Every generation ship carried blueprints for war machines that could wake from sleep modes. Every megastructure project included dual-purpose frames ready to shift from habitat to fortress. Self-replicating industrial swarms waited in asteroid belts labeled mining drones. Jump-capable hunter-killer fleets drifted in deep space, registered as derelict hulks for salvage studies. None appeared on official military registries. None violated a single line of the written accords. Inspectors had walked past them, smiled at them. Polite guides, seen only peaceful tools. Now the truth stared back cold and complete. The Concord declared humanity in gross violation. Emergency session called, full mobilization authorized. A multi-species blockade formed, aimed at every human system. Fleets gathered, thousands of ships from dozens of races. They moved to surround human space, cut trade routes, isolate worlds. Messages went out demanding immediate surrender, disarmament, trials for leaders. Human channels stayed silent. No counter-broadcast, no plea for negotiation, just quiet. On border outposts, human skeleton crews finished final tasks. They powered down non-essential systems, smiled at remaining alien overseers, then vanished into hidden escape pods, or shuttles, that slipped away unnoticed. Zari commanders found their human workers gone overnight. Vorath hive masters discovered empty maintenance tunnels leading to sealed vents. Waited for humanity to respond with words. Instead, the first real sign came without warning. A Concorde frigate on picket duty reported engine failure, then went silent. Seconds later, its sister ship saw the frigate break apart from inside out. No explosion, no beam fire, just sudden disassembly, like a toy taken apart by invisible hands. More ships followed. One by one, patrols vanished. Survivors, if any, sent garbled messages about shadows moving too fast, about systems failing without cause. The elder races pulled back their main fleets, formed defensive spheres around core worlds. They told each other this was temporary. Humanity would see reason soon. They reminded themselves of superior numbers, ancient experience, vast resources. Yet doubt crept in. Whispers spread among crews. What if the humans never stopped being dangerous? What if peace had only been a mask? On Earth, the central council room filled with updates. Screens showed green lights turning red as Concorde forces moved closer. Each red light marked a blockade point established. The leader watched without expression. He turned to his advisors. They think numbers matter now. An advisor answered, they always did in their minds. The leader nodded once. Then, let them learn. Outside, the galaxy held its breath. News feeds ran constant loops of empty stations, vanished convoys, silent human worlds. Experts debated possible outcomes. Most predicted quick human collapse. A few older analysts remembered stories from first contact days. They spoke quietly of human history, full of surprises, patience turning to fury. No one listened closely. Fear made most prefer comfortable lies. The blockade tightened. Concorde admirals broadcast final ultimatums, surrender or face total isolation. Still no answer came. Something stirred. A single human scout ship appeared on sensors, small, fast, gone in a blink. It left no trace, but sensors caught a faint pulse broadcast on open channels. The message repeated once, then vanished. You asked for peace, we gave it. You broke it. Now watch. The pulse ended. Across the galaxy, alarms began to sound. Not from incoming fleets, not from missiles, from inside their own systems. Lights flickered on dormant consoles. Old relays woke up. Forgotten drones activated. The unraveling had truly started. What looked like solid ice now showed wide cracks. Water rushed beneath. Pressure built fast. The Concorde fleets waited for an enemy they could see. They never expected the enemy had been waiting inside their own house all along. Humanity had not broken the rules. They had rewritten the game while everyone watched the board. With words, with action. And the galaxy finally began to understand. They had never faced real human war before. Only human patience. Now patience had run out. The next move belonged to humanity. And they would not ask permission. What humans call war exploded across the galaxy without fanfare or declaration. The first wave came from places no one watched. Human ships rose from Lagrange points hidden in asteroid shadows, emerged from dark pools between stars, unfolded from inside gas giant atmospheres where sensors never looked deep enough. They looked nothing like the museum pieces the Concorde knew. Hull plates shifted into fractal patterns that bent light and radar away. Drives hummed with causality disruptions that made time feel wrong to anyone close. Swarms of tiny fighters poured out like angry insects, each one a von Neumann seed, ready to eat metal and spit out more of itself. The Khazari core worlds felt it first. Orbital fortresses designed to stop armadas vanished in minutes. Microswarms slipped through shield gaps. 8 structural beams from inside turned kilometer-wide stations into drifting clouds of dust. Planetary defenses fired wildly at shadows that moved too fast for targeting computers. Khazari battleships launched counterstrikes, only to find their missiles turning against them, reprogrammed mid-flight by invisible code. Entire battle lines broke apart when human vessels simply reached out and rewrote local spacetime. Gravity wells appeared where none belonged, pulling ships together, crumpling armor like paper. Vorath hive ships suffered worse. Their massive living vessels relied on tight coordination between queens and drones. Human infiltrators had already seeded the hives years earlier, tiny machines riding supply shipments. When the signal came, those machines woke up. They cut neural links, scrambled pheromones, turned drones against each other. Hive ships tore themselves apart from within, queens screaming in confusion as their own children devoured the royal chambers. Vorath queens broadcast pleas for mercy across open channels. Human responses came back cold, precise. You asked for more space, we give you none. The Concorde rushed its grand armada to the Orion Cygnus Gap. Thousands of ships from elder races and allies formed the largest fleet ever seen. They carried weapons tested over millennia, shields rated unbreakable, formations drilled for centuries. They waited, confident that numbers and experience would win. Humanity arrived in silence. No grand formation, no blazing engines, no radio challenges, just points of light appearing one after another until the stars looked wrong. The battle lasted 17 minutes. It began when the lead Concorde dreadnought lost power without warning. Its reactors shut down cleanly as if someone flipped a switch inside. Then another and another. Human hunter-killers had slipped close during the approach phase. They carried boarding pods, small, quiet, deadly. Once inside, they moved like ghosts, disabling systems, killing crews with surgical precision. Strikes. When the Armada tried to fire main batteries, found targeting offline. When they tried to maneuver, drives refused commands. Human vessels danced through the chaos untouched. Their weapons ignored shields, simply passed through, turned matter to energy in controlled bursts. Entire squadrons vanished when causality drives folded space around them, compressing hulls into singularities. Survivors broadcast desperate messages. This is madness. Return to the peace. Stop this destruction. Human command answered with one repeating transmission, sent on every frequency. You named it peace. We named it ceasefire. Ceasefire's end. The Grand Armada broke. Ships tried to run, only to find jump points blocked by human minds that rewrote hyperspace lanes. Others surrendered, raising white codes on all channels. Most simply died. Debris fields stretched across light hours, glowing with the heat of sudden deaths. Admirals who survived sent final reports home. They described horrors, machines that thought faster than minds, weapons that ignored physics, fleets that appeared from nowhere. They begged for reinforcements that would never come. On the occupied human worlds, Khazari and Vorath forces faced their own reckoning. Human skeleton crews, who had smiled politely for years, now moved with purpose. They activated hidden caches, pulled weapons from walls, floors, ceilings. Small teams struck command centers, took bridges, locked down hangars. Alien garrisons found themselves outnumbered by people who knew every corridor, every vent, every weak point. Fighting ended quickly. Most aliens chose to stand down when they saw the change in human eyes. The patient mask had fallen away, replaced by calm, focused fury. News of the defeats spread like fire through dry grass. Core worlds went dark as communication relays failed, one by one. Elder races' capitals. Leaders who once spoke of guiding humanity now hid in bunkers. They ordered fleets to pull back, declared neutrality, begged for talks. Human ships did not pursue every target. They moved with precision, hitting only military assets, command nodes, supply hubs. Civilian populations stayed untouched. Evacuation warnings came hours before strikes, giving time to flee. The message stayed the same. This is consequence, not vengeance. Choose your next actions carefully. Across the galaxy, species watched in stunned silence. They had believed humanity broken, tamed, contained. They had taken worlds, signed restrictions, laughed at the docile newcomers. Now they saw the truth. Humanity had never stopped being what it always was. They had simply waited. They had fought the hardest war against themselves for 10,000 years. They learned every lesson, every weakness, every strength. Patience into the sharpest weapon. When the galaxy tested them, they answered in the only language left. Overwhelming, decisive, final. The war humans called war showed no mercy, because mercy had been offered for centuries and refused. It showed no rage because rage wastes energy. It showed only efficiency, cold, complete, unstoppable. The Concord fleets that remained retreated to their home systems. They raised shields, waited for the next blow. It did not come immediately. Human ships pulled back to defensive lines around reclaimed worlds. They broadcast new maps showing returned territories under human control. They invited neutral species to discuss terms. Most accepted quickly. A few hesitated. Those few received visits from small human delegations. The delegates spoke softly. We prefer coexistence. We always did. The choice remains yours. The galaxy began to understand what they called peace. Had been a long pause. What humans called war had just begun. And it would end only when humanity decided it ended. The stars watched in quiet horror. The old order crumbled. A new one rose, built not on treaties or votes, but on the simple fact that humanity had chosen to stop pretending. The ceasefire was over. The real conversation had started, and humanity held the floor. With the aggressor coalitions broken, and the elder races hiding behind hurried neutrality declarations, the galaxy waited for what would come next. A single human dreadnought appeared without warning in the heart of Concord space. It bore the name Eternal Reckoning, painted in stark white letters against midnight black hull. No escort flanked it. No fighter screen protected it. It needed none. The Great Council Station hung in orbit around the neutral capital world, a massive ring of crystal and alloy that had hosted debates for millennia. Shields stayed down, weapons cold, because no one dared raise them against the lone ship. The dreadnought drifted to docking range, slow, deliberate, calm. It sent no challenge, no demand. It simply opened a wideband transmission, unencrypted, translated into every known language, broadcast to every receiver, from core worlds to frontier outposts. The voice that spoke belonged to no single person, carried the weight of consensus, calm, steady, final. To the species of the Concord, you offered us peace on your terms and called our acceptance wisdom. You took our worlds, our people, our future, and called it harmony. You mistook patience for weakness, restraint for cowardice, preparation for surrender. We endured your peace for 3 centuries because we hoped you would grow beyond the need to test us. You did not. What you named peace, humanity calls war, with the safety off. This is not vengeance, this is consequence. We return your treaties unsigned, unneeded. The galaxy may now choose coexistence on equal terms, or the silence that follows when one side refuses to stop fighting. We are no longer waiting for your permission to exist. Humanity has spoken. Choose wisely. The transmission ended clean. No repeat, no fade out. The dreadnought held position for exactly 1 standard hour. Sensors across the station watched its every move. It did nothing. No weapons powered up, no troops launched, no signal sent. It simply waited. Inside the grand chamber, species representatives gathered in record time. Many arrived, still wearing sleep clothes, faces pale, hands shaking. Screens replayed the message in loops. Voices rose in argument, fear, anger, disbelief. Some called it bluff, others called it apocalypse. A few elder diplomats who remembered first contact sat silent, eyes wide. They understood what most refused to see. Humanity had never lied about wanting peace. They had simply defined it differently. The hour passed. The dreadnought jumped away without sound or flash. It vanished into the void, leaving only the echo of words. For the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Concord chamber fell utterly silent. No one spoke. No one moved. The weight of the moment pressed down like gravity from a dead star. Outside the station, news feeds exploded. Headlines screamed in every script. Human final message shakes galaxy. Concord faces reckoning. Peace or silence, the choice is now. Populations on 1,000 worlds gathered in public squares, watched screens, listened to the words. Some cheered, thinking liberation had come. Others wept, fearing the end of everything. Neutral species who had stayed out of the conflict sent quiet feelers to human channels. They asked for talks, offered trade, renewed old friendships. Human responses came fast, polite, firm. Terms would be discussed on equal ground, no preconditions, no observers, no restrictions. The old council would dissolve. A new forum would form, with seats based on reality, not history. Humanity would hold veto power until trust could rebuild. Most accepted without delay. A handful hesitated. Their hesitation lasted days, not weeks. Appeared near their borders, not attacking, just watching. The message repeated on open bands. Choose wisely. They chose quickly after that. The Khazari remnants gathered what ships remained. Their leaders broadcast surrender terms unconditional. Vorath hives sent queens under white flags, begging for mercy on their young. Human commanders accepted surrenders with efficiency. Prisoner exchanges began. Reconstruction aid followed. No revenge killings, no purges. Only order restored under new rules. The elder races who once guided the galaxy found themselves sidelined. Their ancient fleets scrapped or gifted to joint defense forces. Their council seats reduced to advisory roles. They protested at first, then accepted. Survival mattered more than pride. On Earth, the Central Council met one last time in the old windowless room. Maps showed green lights everywhere, reclaimed worlds, secure borders, stable allies. Growing. The leaders stood, looked at each face. We waited centuries to be heard. Now they listen. An advisor asked, "What comes next?" The leader answered what always came next. We build, we explore, we protect our own. and we watch. Because peace is never given, it is earned every day. Outside, children played in parks, artists created songs, scientists planned new jumps. Life continued, but something had changed forever. The galaxy no longer looked at humans as reformed barbarians or housecats. They looked with careful respect, sometimes with fear, always with understanding. The final message had done its work. It closed one era, opened another. Humanity stepped forward not as conquerors, but as equals who would no longer kneel. The stars stretched wide and cold. Trade routes reopened under new flags. Fleets patrolled with mixed crews. Councils met with human voices strong at the back. The silence that could have followed never came. Because enough species chose coexistence. They chose wisely. And in quiet moments on distant worlds, old diplomats would sometimes gather. They would play the recording again. Listen to the calm voice. Remember the long wait, the patient years, the sudden storm. They would shake their heads and say softly, "We thought we taught them peace. They taught us what peace really costs." The galaxy turned onward, wiser, quieter, forever marked by the day humanity spoke its final word, and the stars listened.